Imagine waking up on a sunny morning, ready to start another ordinary day, only to discover that a beloved educator has vanished without a trace. What initially appeared to be a straightforward mystery soon unravels into a web of lies and dark secrets. How would you react if you learned that behind an apparently perfect relationship, betrayals, enigmatic messages, and an unexpected pregnancy involving a student? Prepare yourself to delve into the Laura Wallen case, where a routine dog walk raises suspicions and unexpected twists lead to a chilling revelation. Stay tuned until the end to uncover how a text message changed everything and why the conclusion of this story will leave you pondering for days. Background: Laura Elizabeth Wallen, a committed 31-year-old instructor born on February 10, 1986, was renowned for her zeal in assisting others. Growing up in Olney, Maryland, alongside her elder sibling Jennifer, Laura cultivated an early desire to make a difference in people's lives. This inclination guided her towards a career in education, specializing in social sciences. Her professional path led her to Wilde Lake High School in Columbia, Maryland, where she became a cherished figure among students and colleagues. Laura was in a seemingly stable relationship with Tyler Tessier, which had lasted for a decade. The couple appeared ready to take the next step in their life together, with Laura expecting her first child 4 months into her pregnancy. Unbeknownst to her, this long-term relationship was about to reveal itself as far more intricate and powerless than Laura could have imagined. Pregnancy. The news of Laura Wallen's pregnancy brought a new dimension to her decade-long relationship with Tyler Tessier. At 4 months gestation, Laura was on the brink of embarking on a new chapter in her life, balancing her career as a dedicated educator with the prospect of motherhood. The baby, affectionately referred to as Reed by the family, represented not just an addition to Laura's life, but also a promise for the future. The pregnancy seemed to solidify the commitment between Laura and Tyler, with expectations of forming a family. Tyler, apparently enthusiastic about the news, even expressed to Laura's parents his desire to marry her. This moment of joy and anticipation, however, concealed a far more complex and somber reality that Laura was yet unaware of, adding a tragic layer to her story, and that of her unborn child. Tyler's double life. Behind the facade of a stable relationship with Laura Wallen, Tyler Tessier concealed a parallel existence that defied all the trust placed in him. While Laura dreamed of a future alongside the man she believed to be her faithful companion, Tyler maintained an intricate web of lies that had persisted 4 years. In 2012, Tyler met Christina Vogler, also an educator, marking the beginning of a new chapter in his double life. What started as a casual encounter evolved into a serious relationship, with Tyler dividing his life between 2 women who were unaware of each other's existence. With an almost theatrical ability, he managed to maintain both relationships simultaneously, crafting elaborate narratives to justify his suspicious absences and behaviors. The magnitude of this duplicity was revealed in the details of his daily life. Tyler not only dated Christina, but even moved into her house, establishing a domestic cohabitation while still maintaining his relationship with Laura. This arrangement allowed him to present himself as a committed partner to both women without raising immediate suspicions. The pinnacle of this charade materialized in wedding plans with Christina, set for 2018. While planning a future with one, he was impregnating the other, weaving an increasingly complex and unsustainable plot. To maintain this elaborate lie, Tyler had to create convincing stories for both sides. To Christina's friends, Laura was portrayed as an unstable ex-girlfriend who couldn't accept the end of the relationship, a narrative that served to explain any suspicious behavior on Tyler's part. This double life was not limited to romantic relationships. Tyler demonstrated a notable absence at significant moments in Laura's life, such as important holidays, birthdays, and family events. This constant lack of presence which should have been a warning sign, was skillfully masked by excuses and justifications that Laura, in her trust, accepted without deeply questioning. Tyler's ability to compartmentalize his life was almost impressive, if it weren't so deeply disturbing. He navigated between two worlds, two promises of future, two versions of himself, with a dexterity that suggested an alarming level of manipulation and emotional detachment. This duality was not just a matter of infidelity, but a complete fabrication of identity and intentions, which would end up having tragic and irreversible consequences. Discovery of the betrayal. The veil of illusion surrounding Laura Wallen's life began to unravel on August 28, 2017, marking the beginning of a series of events that would irrevocably alter the course of her life. On this fateful day, Laura made a decision that would reveal the hidden truth behind her seemingly solid relationship with Tyler Tessier. Driven by an intuition she could no longer ignore, Laura decided to do something unexpected: directly contact Christina Wagner. This action, seemingly simple, was actually a courageous step for a woman who, unknowingly, was about to uncover a devastating truth about the man with whom she planned to build a life. The text message sent by Laura to Christina that August day was like a stone thrown into calm waters, creating ripples that would soon turn into tumultuous waves. The exact content of this message, although not fully revealed, was sufficient to shake the foundations of Tyler's elaborate scheme. This attempt at communication between the two women who inadvertently shared their lives with the same man marked the beginning of the end of the carefully constructed farce by Tyler. It was the moment when two worlds, kept separate by lies and manipulations, began to collide irreversibly. For Laura, pregnant and full of hopes for the future, this discovery must have been a profound shock. The realization that the man she considered her life partner, the father of her unborn child, was living a completely different life with another woman, was undoubtedly a devastating emotional blow. This revelation not only exposed Tyler's infidelity, but also laid bare a web of lies much more complex and long-standing than Laura could have imagined. The discovery likely triggered a cascade of emotions: shock, anger, sadness, confusion, as Laura tried to reconcile the image of the man she thought she knew with the reality that now presented itself. Laura's act of contacting Christina was not just a search for truth, but also a moment of personal affirmation. It demonstrated her strength and determination to face reality, no matter how painful it might be. This courageous action, however, may also have been the catalyst for the tragic events that would follow, setting in motion a series of occurrences that no one could have predicted. The discovery of Tyler's betrayal marked the end of an era in Laura's life and the beginning of another, much darker one. It was the turning point that transformed what should have been a period of joyful expectation for the arrival of her child into a nightmare that, tragically, she would not live to see the end of. Trip to Damascus. During the Labor Day holiday weekend, between September 2nd and 4th, 2017, Laura Wallen embarked on a journey that she believed to be the beginning of a new chapter in her life, but which would tragically prove to be her final days. Tyler Tessier, under the pretext of planning a future together, invited Laura for a countryside adventure in Damascus, Maryland. The chosen destination was not random. Damascus, a relatively isolated rural area, offered the perfect setting for the plans that Tyler had meticulously architected. The property he showed Laura wasn't just any plot of land. It was a location where he already had established connections, including access to a meat processing facility nearby. Laura, still unaware of Tyler's true nature, likely saw this trip as a romantic gesture and a concrete step towards the life she envisioned for her growing family. The idea of building a house in the countryside, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, must have seemed idyllic to the expectant mother. What Laura didn't know was that Tyler had much more sinister motivations for this excursion. During their stay, he made an unusual request to the owner of the neighboring factory, He asked for access to the safe where 20-gauge rifles with ammunition were stored. This detail, seemingly irrelevant at the time, would gain terrible significance in light of subsequent events. The last time Laura was seen in public was on September 2nd, at a local Safeway, accompanied by Tyler. The store's security footage captured the last moments of normalcy in Laura's life, moments that would become crucial in the investigation that would follow. The weekend, which should have been filled with plans for the future and expectations for family life, transformed into the setting of an impending tragedy. Tyler's choice of an isolated location, his prior knowledge of the area, and access to firearms paint a disturbing picture of premeditation. This trip to Damascus marked the point of no return in Laura's story. What began as a promise of future ended up being the prelude to a tragic outcome, transforming a place that should have represented hope and new beginnings into the stage of a heinous crime that would shock the community and leave a family devastated. Disappearance, September 5, 2017, dawned with an absence that would soon turn into alarm. Laura Wallen, the dedicated social sciences teacher at Wilde Lake High School, did not show up for the first day of classes after the summer break. Her empty chair in the teacher's lounge and the silence in her classroom were the first signs that something was terribly wrong. Laura's absence was glaring, not just because it was the start of the school year, but because it went against everything her colleagues and students knew about her. Laura was known for her punctuality and enthusiasm, especially on the first days of school. Her absence, without any prior notice, was completely out of character. Concern quickly spread through the school. Colleagues tried to contact her, first by phone, then by messages, but were met only with unsettling silence. The school administration, realizing the gravity of the situation, contacted Laura's family. It was then that a crucial piece of the puzzle came to light. Laura's family revealed that she had sent a strange message to her sister Jennifer the day before. The content of this message, although not fully disclosed, was alarming enough to increase everyone's anxiety. As the hours passed without news, fear grew. Laura's family, unable to accept the silence, made the decision to notify the Montgomery County Police Department. The disappearance of a pregnant teacher, beloved by her community, quickly became a priority for the authorities. The news of Laura's disappearance spread like wildfire, mobilizing not only the police, but the entire community. Students, parents, colleagues, and neighbors united, forming search groups, distributing flyers, and sharing information on social media. Laura Wallen's disappearance was not just the absence of a person. It was a void that echoed throughout an entire community, leaving unanswered questions and a sense of unease that would only increase in the days to follow. Police investigation, with the alarm sounded about Laura Wallen's disappearance, the Montgomery County Police Department initiated an intensive investigation. Led by Police Chief Tom Manger, the team delved into a case that would prove to be as complex as it was disturbing. Investigators began with a thorough sweep of Laura's residence in Olney, Maryland. The absence of signs of struggle or break-in initially perplexed the team. Laura's black 2011 Ford Escape was also missing, adding another layer of mystery to the case. The police quickly expanded the scope of the investigation, scouring areas between Howard and Montgomery counties. Every lead, no matter how small, was followed with determination. The most significant discovery came on the night of September 7th, when Laura's car was found in an apartment complex in Columbia, Maryland. The abandoned vehicle, along with Laura's driver's license and cell phone found in a nearby trash can, provided investigators with a new set of evidence to analyze. The location of the car, ironically just meters away from Wilde Lake High School, raised even more questions. Investigators dove into Laura's digital world, meticulously examining her phone records, financial transactions, and internet browsing history. Every detail was a potential piece of the puzzle they were trying to assemble. In parallel, The police conducted extensive interviews with Laura's family members, friends, and colleagues. It was during these conversations that Tyler Tessier's name began to gain prominence in the investigation. The inconsistencies in his account and his behavior raised the first suspicions. As the investigation progressed, the police employed sophisticated surveillance techniques. A tracker was discreetly placed on Tyler's vehicle, allowing investigators to monitor his movements without his knowledge. The police investigation in Laura Wallen's case was not just a search for a missing person. It became a race against time to unravel a web of lies and uncover the truth behind her disappearance. Press conference. On September 11, 2017, 6 days after Laura Wallen's disappearance, a press conference was called. What followed was a performance that would shock both the public and investigators, revealing the depths of human dissimulation. At the center of the stage was Tyler Tessier, the man who, unbeknownst to many, was already the prime suspect in Laura's disappearance. By his side, in an apparent gesture of unity and support, were Laura's parents, Mark and Gwen Wallen. The scenario was surreal. Tyler, with a carefully rehearsed expression of concern, made an emotional appeal for Laura's safe return. His voice trembled as he pleaded, "Laura, if you're listening, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what you've done. There's nothing we can't solve together." Tyler's words, laden with false emotion, echoed through the press room. He spoke of sleepless nights, of the pain of uncertainty, painting himself as the anguished and dedicated boyfriend. "I love you, Laura," he declared, his eyes brimming with tears that we now know were fake. What the public didn't know, and what made this scene even more shocking, was that this press conference was part of a carefully planned strategy by the police. With the permission and cooperation of Laura's family, investigators had orchestrated this event in the hope that Tyler might reveal crucial information under the pressure of the spotlight. As Tyler spoke, detectives watched closely, analyzing every word, every gesture, in search of clues that could lead to Laura's whereabouts. Laura's family, forced to share the stage with the man they suspected was responsible for their daughter's disappearance, demonstrated unimaginable strength. This press conference would become an iconic moment in the investigation, not for what it revealed, but for what it concealed. It was a disturbing demonstration of Tyler's ability to lie blatantly, not only to the cameras, but to a devastated family and a grieving community. Discovery of the body. On the morning of September 13, 2017, the hope of finding Laura Wallen alive was brutally extinguished. In an open field in Damascus, Maryland, the relentless search came to a tragic and shocking end. The scene that unfolded in that isolated field was chilling. Investigators, following meticulously collected clues, were led to a recently disturbed area. Fresh tire marks cut across the soil, leading to a spot that appeared to have been recently excavated. It was there, in a shallow grave, that Laura Wallen's remains were discovered. A piece of purple fabric, subtly emerging from the earth, was the first indicator of the terrible truth that lay below. As investigators carefully removed the earth, the magnitude of the tragedy revealed itself. The initial identification was made through Laura's clothes, corresponding to a photo that her sister Jennifer had shared with investigators. It was a devastating confirmation of the worst feared by family and community. The discovery of Laura's body not only marked the end of a frantic search, it represented the beginning of a new phase in the investigation. The crime scene was immediately isolated, with forensic teams meticulously working to collect every possible piece of evidence. News of the discovery spread quickly, sending shockwaves throughout the community. What began as a disappearance story now turned into a homicide case, with even darker implications considering Laura's pregnancy. For the Wallen family, the discovery brought a cruel end to their agonizing wait, replacing tormenting uncertainty with unimaginable pain. The loss was not just of Laura, but also of her unborn child, a double tragedy that deepened the grief of all involved. The discovery of Laura Wallen's body in Damascus was not just the end of a search. It was the beginning of a quest for justice, a journey that promised to be as painful as it was necessary. Arrest of Tyler. On the same day that Laura Wallen's body was discovered, September 13, 2017, the investigation reached a decisive turning point. Tyler Tessier, the man who just 2 days earlier had made an emotional appeal for Laura's return, was detained as the prime suspect in her murder. Tyler's arrest was not a spectacular event, but rather the result of a meticulous and patient investigation. Detectives, armed with forensic evidence from the crime scene and information collected during days of surveillance, made the approach quickly and decisively. When confronted with the overwhelming evidence against him, Tyler tried, once again, to escape through elaborate lies. His first reaction was to create a fantastic story about him and Laura being held hostage by a group of armed men in Damascus. According to him, these men had shot Laura, forcing him to bury her. As the interrogation progressed and the inconsistencies in his story became glaring, Tyler changed his narrative several times. In a particularly disturbing version, he claimed to have buried Laura alive, only to later unearth her and shoot her in the head as an act of mercy. Each new version from Tyler only solidified the investigators' conviction that they had the right man in custody. The ease with which he fabricated stories and his apparent lack of remorse were indicative of a deeply disturbed personality. The arrest of Tyler Tessier marked the end of his freedom, but only the beginning of a long legal process. He was held in custody without bail, awaiting the formal charges that would follow. For Laura's family and the community that had been profoundly shaken by this tragedy, Tyler's arrest brought a mix of relief and renewed pain. It was the confirmation of their worst suspicions and the beginning of a journey in search of justice for Laura and her unborn child. Trial scheduled. With Tyler Tessier in custody, the judicial system sprang into action. The trial for Laura Wallen's murder was scheduled for September 2018, a year after the crime. Prosecutor John McCarthy led the prosecution, building a meticulous case based on forensic evidence, phone records, and Tyler's erratic behavior. A complex aspect of the case was the question of Laura's unborn child. Under Maryland law, Tyler could only be charged with Laura's murder, not that of the fetus, a controversial legal technicality. Tyler's defense faced the challenge of explaining his multiple contradictory versions of events. Meanwhile, the community braced itself to relive the trauma of the crime, with Laura's friends, family, and colleagues potentially testifying. For the Wallen family, the trial brought mixed feelings, the chance to obtain justice, but also the pain of reliving the details of their loss. It was more than a legal process. It represented a moment of seeking answers, and, for many, a hope for closure to a tragedy that had shaken an entire community, Tyler's suicide. On the morning of September 6, 2018, less than a week before the start of his trial, Tyler Tessier was found dead in his cell at the Montgomery County Jail. The man accused of murdering Laura Wallen and her unborn child had taken his own life, using bed sheets to hang himself. The news of Tyler's suicide sent shockwaves through the judicial system and the community. For many, his death represented a final escape from justice, denying Laura's family the opportunity to confront him in court and obtain answers to the many questions that still lingered over the case. The circumstances leading to Tyler's suicide were the subject of intense investigation. It was discovered that he had left 5 separate letters, all indicating that the plan to take his own life had been on his mind for some time. The content of these letters, although not publicly disclosed, likely contained disturbing insights into the mind of a man capable of such brutality. Tyler's death abruptly ended the legal process, leaving a vacuum where there should have been a trial. For the prosecutors who had worked tirelessly to build the case, it was a frustrating and unsatisfactory ending. For Laura's family, Tyler's suicide brought conflicting emotions. Gwen Wallen, Laura's mother, expressed a paradoxical sense of peace, describing Tyler as an evil human being whose continued existence was a source of concern. At the same time, the family was deprived of the opportunity to seek answers and see justice served through the legal system. Tyler Tessier's suicide marked the end of a dark chapter, but left many questions unanswered. It was an ending that denied the closure many sought, replacing the promise of justice with a disturbing silence. Family's grief and reflections. In the wake of Tyler Tessier's suicide, the Wallen family faced a complex emotional storm. Gwen, Laura's mother, expressed an unexpected relief, feeling peace in knowing that the evil human being no longer existed in the same world as her family. Mark, the father, who had always been suspicious of Tyler, now dealt with the tragic confirmation of his intuitions. Jennifer, the sister, carried the weight of having been the last to receive a message from Laura. United in their grief, the Wallens sought to honor the memory of Laura and baby Reed. They found strength in their faith, believing that God only gives people what they can bear. Determined not to let the tragedy completely define Laura's life, they began sharing stories about her positive impact as a teacher and her love for life. The family also found purpose in alerting others about signs of abusive relationships. Their grieving process was not linear, alternating between deep sadness, renewed anger, and quiet reflection. They remained united, supporting each other and seeking a way to move forward, carrying Laura's legacy of love and compassion as their guiding light. If this story has touched you in any way, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more investigative documentaries like this one. Your comments and opinions are valuable to us. Share your thoughts about the case in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to stay informed about our upcoming videos.